Hello, my name is Mae Whittick, and welcome to Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who is the awakening woman? She's a woman who is seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal, but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, and soul. They share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. This week's episode of Her Conversations is a departure from the usual format of each episode, in that instead of having a featured interviewee, what I'm doing is looking over some of the past interviews that I've had over the past few months and just picking out various different points that each of the women has said and just responding to the way that what they gave, that piece of information, that piece of advice has impacted and inspired me. And this is just coming from the question that I ask everybody at the end of our interviews. One of the questions is, what is the greatest or the best piece of advice a woman has ever given you? And each and every one of the interviewees will, of course, give very different pieces of advice, but what I'm always struck by is how impactful it is also on me, in terms of it will just kind of bring to light or spark something within me. And I don't always share that point during each interview, but I thought it would be an interesting concept just to do a mini episode where I'm just taking a few pieces of those advice and responding to them now. So what I'll do is just play a few of those from the past few months and then come back to you and just let you know how it felt for me and what I felt from each piece and what it inspired in me.
To be powerful, to be bold, especially as women, this feeling that you sort of have to be in the background. And if you're anything other than that, it's sort of uncomfortable at times. And it's something that I think we sort of unconsciously know from a very young age, and can't really put a finger on it, but you can feel it. So I think for me, just being surrounded by a lot of women who are stepping into themselves, and they're not afraid to be powerful, and they're not afraid to say what they mean. I think that's been really important for me.
That was the response of Courtney Amundsen from episode 3. And what that reminded me of was the very same: to be powerful, to be bold, and to not shy back. I think personally in my life I can think of many instances and just as an overall ways that I have held back, ways that I have been nervous about the gifts and the ideas that I've had and not being forthcoming in bringing them into the world and allowing them to be shared, and also then to change my life. And it's only on those instances when I've actually stepped forward and done as that little voice has instructed me to do that miraculous things have changed in my life, and miraculous and amazing people have shown themselves to me. And it was by being bold and taking that first step that led to this interview series, and has also sparked the opportunity for me to meet so many amazing women so far, and also so far into the future.
Be exemplary in everything that you do and not assume that everyone has the same morals, has the same values as you, and to always have those high standards. Don't expect everyone to be like you.
This advice came from Lorraine White, which was episode 10. Demystifying Numbers. Lorraine's a numerologist and works in a specific way to help you identify your soul purpose. It's a great episode, and if you are interested in that, you should really check that out. The reason that piece of advice just made me chuckle was how much I have been reluctant in the past to really embrace the fact that my ideas and my goals were very different from other people's, and what it would mean for me to actually step out and apply myself and actually put all of my dreams and ideas into action. And then that being said, once I've done all of that, a lot of the time is then when it comes to collaborating, there are a lot of people who will say they want to collaborate with you, they want to work with you. I'm finding that not everybody has the equal level of quality control, shall we say. So I always like to work to the highest standard that I can possibly get to at any given point, and I realise not everybody has that same ideal or expectation of themselves. It's usually that something is done and that's enough, but I think for myself, I know that I always want to be putting out my best at any given time. So even if I look back in a few months on all of these episodes and hear where technically they could have been better, I know that in the instance that I did them, they were the best that I could do at that particular point.
Just love yourself, trust yourself. It doesn't matter what other people think.
And a similar sentiment from Rachel Welford, who was on episode 5 and talking about her spiritual work within the City of London. And what I took from that and from Rachel's point was, it doesn't matter what people think, even though we make it matter. Ultimately, the need for the approval and the acceptance of other people is actually not important to doing something that means something to us in a real and honest way. A lot of the time you'll find that the people that you're looking for approval, friends, family, colleagues that you may have known for years and years and feel that have really got an understanding of you, will be the people who will more likely than not sometimes offer the harshest of criticism, because it will represent to them a change and a growth in you that they're not ready to see from you, or how your growth is sometimes highlighting to them where they're not moving in their lives. So it's a reminder to me to do what needs to be done and to trust that the people who are receptive of what I'm putting out are out there. They may not be in my circle right now, but if I do, they will come.
Drop the knife, drop the need to defend yourself. Because we become defensive about, when we feel that people are trying to make us wrong, or our need to be right, or to stand out, or to have status, or whatever.
And that gem of advice came from Reverend Anita Mackenzie, also known as Sister in the Raw, and her episode was episode number 6. And for me, the drop the knife, dropping the need to be right, just can relate to so many parts of a younger me in particular, where it was important that my point was the point that everyone agreed on, and if they didn't agree on it, then there was something wrong with the other person, and I got myself into knots about the fact that they couldn't see my point of view. Maturity has shown me that everyone's operating from a completely different perspective in life, so they can never be looking through your eyes and seeing the world in your way, and they're only going to be able to understand something from their own perspective, and you can try and make them see things your way, but ultimately that's not going to happen. And the best thing that you can do is allow what you need to say or whatever you need to put out into the world to stand, and appreciate that not everybody is going to get it straight away. Some people might get it years later, or there may be people that will never get it in this lifetime, and it is what it is. So drop the knife.
Walk in your shoes, not in somebody else's. And she said, and when you're walking in your shoes, make sure that they are always comfortable. And that's really stuck in my mind. And I didn't even really understand what she meant. As I've got older and I've matured more, and I think about what she was saying to me, it was so true. And I think it was such a poignant thing for her to say it to me at that time, because I was very young and I was struggling, and I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. And she could see that, but I was living it and I couldn't really see it. Her saying that to me many years ago really made a difference for me.
This is coming from Abby Osho, who was on episode 4 talking about the healing power of essential oils. And the part that really stuck for me was the part about making sure that your shoes are comfortable when you're walking in your own power. For myself, I can see in the past how I made my life a little bit more difficult. Sometimes it was out of ignorance, and sometimes it was out of pride for not wanting to just put my hand out and say, I need a little bit of help. So that's something that really stuck with me, and I thank Abby for passing on that gem to me.
I think she gave an example of, like, you're walking along with a kid with an ice cream cone, and their ice cream cone falls on the ground and they start to burst into tears. Do you sit on the ground and cry with them? Right? No, that's idiot compassion, right? You hold space for them, you help them understand their feelings, you like be with them and give them compassion, but it's not a merging, right? And I think that as somebody who's very sensitive and very compassionate, to understand that I didn't have to like feel it all and get involved in it all. And it was the starting of like, creating boundaries and owning my field. And she helped me with that a lot. And just really understanding the nature of compassion.
And this came from Christina Wingire, who's an astrologer. And this just reminds me of I've heard the saying in many different iterations, but one of the things is you can never get sick enough to help a sick person, or climbing into a hole where everybody else is to help them out of the hole. And when we take it on ourselves to want to create and save the world in our own way, sometimes having to step away from the people that we want to help in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to be strong, can feel that we're kind of letting them down in a way. And also, the emotional outreach that they will put on us, that we should be doing things in this or that way if we want to help them. But sometimes the only way that you can help is to distance yourself and to learn new things and then be able to go back and be strong. And that's what I got from this piece.
And basically what she was telling me is, don't ever forget your power. Don't ever forget, as a woman, your power. As a woman, you should never be homeless. As a woman, you should never be without. As a woman, you should never feel like you can't do something. Not when you can look and witness what men do. Even like it's so funny, even when you look at these rap stars, right? They get all this money to throw on women. Mm-hmm. But women are so insecure, feeling like, no, I need his attention. They're doing all of this for you. We birth nations. We raise nations. My grandmother pretty much said, like, power of the P. Don't forget. And I don't mean just sex. It's you as a woman. We are very powerful, and we have forgotten.
And that piece from Alexis Jones, who was my first ever interviewee on her Conversation, is a sentiment that mirrors so many of the women who come on to her conversations. And it is just about remembering the power that we have as women. And I think we can see now, if we take note of the changes that are happening in society, that there is more of a reclaiming of the power that each and every one of us women have, and also a respect and a recognition of that power from men. It's going to take some time, of course, but I, with her conversations, hope that I am helping to bring some of those voices of empowered women to you so that you can listen to them, and you in turn can be inspired in the same way that they have inspired me. So as I said, it was going to be a very, very short episode, but it was just a little look over and an appreciation of the women who have been part of this her journey so far. And if you want to find out a little bit more about me, you can go onto my website, which is carolmaewhittick.com. More information about me, my work, and you can also listen to many of the older episodes there. Wherever you're listening to this episode, please feel free to subscribe. And also, in order for me to get the message of her conversations and everything that I'm intending to do in the future, please feel free to share and like and subscribe, and also to write a comment and build up what I'm trying to build here and now. What I'm realizing is, in the chain of events that have happened during my life this year in particular, there's been a lot of falling away of things that no longer serve, and the things that have been left have been the projects that are coming straight from the soul, and I know that I really need to put much more of my energy and focus into them in order for them to grow. And also with your continued attention and support, it can really become something that will make a difference. If you want to find me on social media also, I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Casmic, so that's CAZMICK. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and see you again next week. Take care.